today's video, we're going to do some night flying. We're going to do a night hyperlapse using the DJI Mini 2. I'm going to take you through step by step on how I do it, from capturing the photos to editing the photos, all the way to rendering out the hyperlapse. So just stick around and we'll get right into it. And if you are new to this channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know the next time I post my videos. So I've been wanting to do a hyperlapse with the DJI Mini 2 for quite some time, but never got around to it. As you know, the DJI Mini 2 does not have a hyperlapse function. However, you can create one just by using the time photo function. So the camera on this has a small sensor. So at night, it doesn't do too well with video. However, with photos, now that we're able to capture photos in RAW format, we have more flexibility in editing the images. As hobbyists, we are able to fly at night, but you have to do it legally with the proper lighting. So I have the Lume Cube strobe light here, which is rated to be visible at 3 statute miles. We're not going to be going out that far. I am going to try to keep it, a little close while I do the hyperlapse. However, if you plan on flying at night, this is something that you're going to need. All right, so hold tight. I'm going to hook up everything and we're going to get this up in the air. All right? All right, so we have everything hooked up and we're ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and just take off. All right, everything seems to be fine. Home point has been updated, so we want to bring it up. One thing I want to, stress that if you're going to do this at night, if you're going to fly at night, be familiar with the area you're going to fly. Now, I am familiar with this area, very familiar with this area, and I've flown here before, so I know that there's nothing up here that I will hit on this side of the road if I fly around this height. So there are some buildings here, but well above them. And then the way I'm going to do my hyperlapse, I'm just going to take it out and work my way back towards my home point. So with a hyperlapse, ideally you want to have a lot of motion in your shots. So I'm going to get over here closer to the road, and I'm going to see if I can pick up some cars as I'm doing the hyperlapse. I'm going to go through my settings right now. So I'm going to put it in camera mode, of course. The lowest intervals they have is 5 seconds. I think the Mavic Mini, the original Mavic Mini had 2-second intervals, but the Mini 2 has 5. So I want to do maybe 8 to 10 second hyperlapse. I want to render this out in 24 frames per second since I am recording this video in 24 frames per second. So that means I'm going to have to take 240 shots. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to get up to that much. 240 shots, does take a long time at 5-second intervals. So as far as my settings, as you can see, I have my ISO set to 400. I'm going to keep it there. My shutter speed is either between 1/4 and 1/3. Also, you want to go in here to your camera menu, and you want to make sure you're on JPEG RAW, because as you can see out here, everything is pretty much black in the darker areas. So we're going to lift those shadows. For this demonstration, I'm just going to use 16:9, so I don't have to crop it in or anything. I'm not going to put the histogram on or the overexposure on. I'm just going to have the crosshairs on. And then for your white balance, I'm going to crank this up to 50 or 6600. I'm going to show you something. So right now, say if you're trying to figure out what the white balance is, you really don't have to figure it out. All you got to do is just go back into the menu, put it in auto, and then it'll automatically set the white balance for your environment. So when we put it back in manual, as you can see now it's 4600. So the white balance will stay locked at 4600 while you're doing your hyperlapse and taking photos. so your white balance won't, fluctuate. So you're going to have to, you can put it in cinematic mode, but since I'm just going to leave it in normal mode, but you're going to have to hold the stick steady for a long amount of time. So what I do is just remove the sticks, actually. And if you didn't know, you can fly this without the sticks. You can just use this little roller or gimbal thing here on the control and just roll it and use it like a trackball. So what I'm going to do is just push forward on the little roller ball, and I'm looking for a speed of maybe 1.5 to 2 miles per hour. And once I get there, I'll just put a little pressure on it just to hold it in place, and then I'll start my photos. All right, so I'm just going to maintain that speed between 1.5 to 2 miles per hour, and I'm just rolling or holding this little gimbal or whatever you want to call it. I know there's a name for it, but I don't know it right now. But I just hold it right there. But right now, I'm just going to go straight forward, and hopefully we can pick up some cars and some movement. So this is going to take a little while. So what I'm going to do is fast forward it, and if anything happens, I'll stop and address it. So let's just go ahead and fast forward it. All right, so I didn't mention this before, but I did go into my settings and lowered the yaw rotation speed in normal mode, so my turns wouldn't be so jerky. And my gimbal pitch speed was slow as well. And as you saw at the end, I did rotate the gimbal down just a little bit as I approached the end of the hyperlapse. So I'm going to bring it on home, and we'll pick up from there. All right, another successful flight. Turn this thing off. All right, now that we've captured our photos, now it's time to edit them. So let's head over to the lab. All right, so welcome to the lab. First thing you need to do is go into your SD card and separate your RAW files from your JPEG. And the best way to do that is sort it by file format, and you'll see that you'll separate your RAW files from your JPEG files. Then what you want to do is go ahead and highlight those and put them into its own file. Now it'll make it a lot easier. So I already went ahead and did that. So we're going to close this out. Then you want to go ahead and open up your photo editor. And the one I use is Darktable. Darktable is a free software that you can get online. I am just a hobbyist, and just looking to learn a little bit more about video editing and photo editing. So I didn't want to pay a monthly fee. This is an alternative to Lightroom. What I've heard, you can do pretty much the same thing here that you could do on Lightroom. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my images, and it takes me right to my file. I'm going to hit Control A. So it's Control A on Windows, and then also Control A on Mac. I'm going to go ahead and open up my image files. And it takes me directly to my darkroom. If I click back here on the light table, it'll take me back to where I can see all my images. So what we're going to do is do a batch edit. And we're going to edit one photo and then copy and paste all the edits to the other photos. So the first thing we want to do is click on this first photo here, and it brings me back to my darkroom. And as you can see, it's very dark, and right here in the middle is a building. So what we're going to do is lift the shadows a little bit, raise the blacks just a little bit so we can get a little detail in this building here. This will be my pretty much my foundation, and I will edit this photo and then paste the edits onto the other photos. So to start off, I'm going to let's go up here, and the cool thing about this, you can just slide this histogram here just to raise the blacks just a little bit. You can make adjustments just from here. So I'm going to make my initial adjustments from here. I'm just going to raise it up just a little bit. And as I do it, you can see that you'll start seeing the building just a little bit more. And I'm going to leave it right there. I'm not going to go too crazy with it. If I raise it too much, it'll start looking too hazy. Then I'm going to go to the tone curve and raise it just a little bit more. Just right about there. So the whole point is to lighten up some of the dark parts in here just a little bit. I'm going to raise the shadows, and by doing that is going to make it look a little hazy. So I'm going to apply a haze remover, and then also if I zoom in here, it'll start looking a little grainy. So at that point, I'm going to add a denoiser. So I'm just going to zoom through this part. You'll see my progress as I'm going along. And after that, we're going to just copy and paste the edits and then export. All right, so I pretty much finished my edit. I might just put a little bit more saturation of color in there, but I just want to point this out. As you can see, I just reduced the graininess that was in there. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if I turn off the raw denoise, you see how much noise it's in there. So turn that on, and it makes it nice and smooth. It does soften it up just a little bit, but that really doesn't matter to me right now. For the hyperlapse, just go in and add just a little bit more saturation. There we go. And maybe vibrance. All right, and that's it. All right, so what we're going to do from here is go back into our light table, and we're going to cut and paste or copy the edits from this photo and then paste it onto the others. So we're going to copy the parts, and I'll bring up a list of the edits. Everything that's checked is what we did, and we're going to hit OK. Control A to select all. And then we're going to paste all the parts. And that same list will come up, and you will hit OK. And this will take a minute. We're going to go to Export Selected, and then make sure my settings are correct. I got everything quality, and we're just going to export. And now that that's finished, we can close this out and go into our video editor. All right, so I use Filmora 10. It's geared towards beginner editors, and you get a lot with it for the price. It's a one-time fee for a lifetime subscription, and you get all updates and everything throughout your subscription. So we're going to open up our images, and I'm just going to import them all. So the first thing you want to do is make sure your preferences are set correctly, and you go into your editing tab here and make sure your photo duration is 1 frame. Now you can do this pretty much on any editor. You can create a hyperlapse on any editor, but some of these editors don't have this option where you can set it to 1 frame. So if you only have the option for seconds, just set it at 0.01, and that should be 1 frame, or about the equivalent of 1 frame. Then you want to go into your project settings and make sure you have everything set to where you want it. I'm going to try to render this out at 4K, and then I want it at 24 frames per second. And now that everything is highlighted here, I can just go ahead and drag it down into the timeline. So that's pretty much it. So I'm just going to go ahead and play it, and it looks, decent. It looks pretty smooth, considering that the Mavic, or the DJI Mini 2, is a small aircraft and it does get tossed around in the wind, especially moving that slow. So we can end it right here and just go ahead and render it out, and you'll have your hyperlapse, or we can stabilize it. So I want to stabilize it, and I'll show you how I do it with another application that is free, an alternative to Adobe After Effects. So let me just go ahead and render this out. So from here, you want to go to your export, and I'm going to put it in a MP4 format. And I'm going to name this Night Lapse. And I want to choose my folder. And I'm just going to leave it in this folder here. You can also go into your settings. I'm going to set it to the best setting. And the rest of the stuff, the audio, I really don't pay too much attention to. I just leave it the way, where it is, and press OK, and then go ahead and export. All right, so the application I use for stabilization is Blender. Blender is another open source software or application that you can use for 3D graphics, motion graphics, and stuff like that. I just picked it up specifically to stabilize my footage, because I couldn't do it in Filmora 10. As a matter of fact, if you try to use the stabilization function in Filmora 10, it will actually make it worse. It's not really good. So I just looked this up specifically and found it for its stabilization, and it's an alternative to Adobe After Effects. You pretty much can do everything here that you could do in Adobe After Effects. So, and again, I didn't want to pay a monthly fee for something that I wasn't going to use like professionally. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and open up my file. And here is my edit, or here's my rendered file. So I'm just going to keep this really brief. I'm not going to try to explain what I'm doing, because I'm still learning this platform myself. This could be for a different video. So I wouldn't do any justice if I try to explain exactly what I was doing. So, to make it brief, all I'm going to do is, stabilize this. And this uses motion tracking to stabilize the image. So I'm going to just do a couple of things here just to set it up. And that's it for the settings. So what the motion tracking does is track a point that is constant throughout the entire clip. So I'm going to look for a point which I've already found, and it's this little light right here. So I'm going to plop a tracker right there on there, then put a search box around it so it'll search for that search for that object within this entire box. And then from there, I'm just going to track it. And it looks like it made it to frame 75 before it lost it. So I'm going to grab it and place it here. And I'm going to zoom through this here. All right, so I'm done tracking, setting the tracker. Go ahead and lock that there. Now I'm going to apply the stabilization. So 2D stabilization, and then I'm going to add that marker there, that tracker for the location, and set this to show stabilization. Zoom out a little. And as you can see, it moves off screen because it's using that marker as a axis to keep it stabilized. Now what I can do from here is do the auto scale, and it crops it in to keep it in frame, but it does crop it in a little bit too much because it looks like I'm going to be losing most of my footage or most of my area. So what I'm going to do is take off the auto scale. I'm going to reduce this back to 1, and then reduce this expected scale to 1 and see what it does. So it moves off screen early here in the clip. So what I'm going to do is put that to 1.1, and let's see how it does there. All right, so we get to this point almost towards the end of the clip where it starts moving off the screen, or moving out of frame. So what we're going to do is just render it just like that, and we're going to fix that. We're going to go back to Filmora and go ahead and fix it. All right. We're going to do a little bit of trickery here. So I'm just going to render this out real quick. And like I said, I'm going to zoom through this. This could be another video to where I, kind of walk you through on how to stabilize with this, software. Okay, render is complete, and here is the stabilized clip compared to the original clip. Okay, now we want to go back into Filmora. We're going to put the stabilized clip that we just rendered into the timeline. Put that down here. Now I'm going to stretch this out as far as I can. And I'm going to do a pre-render. And I'm going to drag it to where it just goes off the screen or goes out of frame, which is right about here. Do like a couple frames beforehand. All right, so I'm going to drop a keyframe here. And what I'm going to do is do a crop and zoom. So as it's moving out of frame, I'm going to crop it and zoom it. So I'm going to add a keyframe here. And then go towards the end and drop a keyframe there. And then I'm going to scale it up just so it can be out of frame. So it can stay in frame, sorry. And I'm just going to scrub it and see if it falls out at any point. All right, so that's it. So if I play it, it'll zoom in and stays in frame. So from here you can copy and paste if you want, and then reverse it, just to be a little bit creative. Reverse it, and you got a nice little hyperlapse there. You can also speed this portion up here. I'm going to speed it up maybe 4 times, and then we're going to loop it. So I'm going to copy both these and copy. Paste. And then I'm going to paste again. So now when we play it, nice little smooth hyperlapse. Zoom in. It'll be just like a slingshot or boomerang type effect. Then from here again, we can go ahead and render it out. Label this night lapse loop. And there you go. Okay, thank you for making it to this point. I do believe this is the longest video I've made so far. But nonetheless, thank you for sticking around. I know many of you are probably saying that's a lot of work just for a 5 to 10 second video. But I don't think of it that way. I think of it as being creative and also learning in the process. I'm not a professional and I don't claim to be, but everything I've learned so far with video editing and photo editing and also with the drones have been through YouTube. And if you think you'll be interested in the software I used in this video, I'll leave links in the description below. So with that said, and not to make this video any longer, if you like this video and or find it useful, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. And if you know someone who may like this video and or find it useful, feel free to share it. And if you're not subscribed yet and you like this type of content, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know the next time I post my videos. But until next time, go out there and be creative, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.